Good afternoon, everybody. It's 6:31. Welcome to the Conservation Board meeting of Donald Victor. This board meets to deliberate on issues with noise and activities, etc. So we are a consulting group to the planning board. We don't make final decisions. Just provide them with information to make the final thing. We have tonight, we have Andrew, Matt, myself, Keith, and Tim. Good. Tonight you will be speaking about 1086 Strong Road, final plans for it.
I'm Doug Eldred from Douglas Eldred Site Engineering. And I represent Chris Iverson, who just bought the property from E6 Properties. So he's the new owner. My understanding is you're going to talk about the conservation easement language.
Yep.
You made recommendations before regarding the location of them. We did revise them. I'm not sure how updated you are. We did revise them at one time. They're a little more jaggy, especially along Taylor Road. And the town engineer, Wes Petty, suggested maybe we just go with a straight 40-foot strip that fit within the right of way. Do you have the plans or? I was gonna say, Susan, do you need to look at her?
We did have a chance to review them ahead of time. And we have the most recent.
So that's probably. Yeah, if you go to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but so the this dark area is basically wood, steep slopes, etc. So that's full conservation easement. And then the crosshatched area here, and then along here, along both roads, and then around the existing homestead, that et cetera, feels it's important to preserve the environmental setting of that. So within those areas, there's trees and stuff. So that's why we're going all the way around the existing house here. Here's the existing house and the garage. So the thought was within this area as well, particularly along here, we have some bermie and trees. And that was in response to neighbors on the other side. So the thought was, so all the trees that we would be planting along the roadways, they're there. You could go to the landscape plan if you'd like to see those a little more closely.
Tell me when I get to that. That one?
So wherever there's a gap, for example, here, there's some trees. And we got trees on the other side of the berm. Let's go one more sheet. And then likewise over here. And then there's berming that goes along with these in most cases. And particularly along Taylor Road, it's to provide a visual break to the back area. And we're providing berms that are sort of more flatly sloped because there was concern about the property itself. If you've seen it, it's like a rolling hillside. So we didn't want to be out of character with that, have, a berm that went straight up steeply across down. So the berming that we're doing, and then there's some other for buffering purposes, but the berming we're doing is more consistent with the topography that's out there. So it stays more natural looking. So we made the adjustments at a different time. I included sort of all the berming in the conservation easement, but the thought is, people aren't going to really mess with that anyway. It's going to be there. It's going to be gently sloped. So, the thought was to simplify it and have most of the berm or the frontage part of the berm, of course, closest to the road within the conservation easement. And then the trees themselves within the conservation easement.
What kind of trees? I didn't see that part of it.
They're mainly deciduous trees. You know, oaks and maples, things like that.
Okay. It's not like a whole bunch of pines or something like that.
No,
Okay.
no. We're consistent with the hardwoods that are in the back area. So I know you folks looked at it before and made some comments, and we've tried to stay updated on those. And my understanding is you're now looking for language for the conservation easements. So I think go back to the original first page, second page, actually. Right there. So the dark conservation easement areas, that's kind of a, you can't touch this type of thing. I think that's pretty typical. It's slopes, it's woods, it's all that kind of stuff. The other areas, besides the landscaping, the rest of the site is pasture land. So what we were proposing is that within the crosshatched areas along the frontage and then a little bit along the back and around the trees and stuff like that, that you'd be able to do gardening and lawn mowing and tree plantings, or your landscaping, and of course, replacement of trees and landscaping if it were to die. That was our thought for those areas.
What about
Of course, no structures.
driveway?
Yeah, so that's the other thing, one of my thoughts was, do you stop and start the easement at each driveway? I mean, we could do that for the easement. The other way you could handle is just give a exception for the driveway plus 10 feet either side and just exclude it in the language of the easement. It's just a little cleaner, but we could do either. In this case, in some cases, we don't know where the driveways are going to go, but in this case, we actually do because of the rolling road out there. We had to locate the driveways strategically, so you had better sight distance.
I remember reading each one has its own driveway, right?
Each
Onto the
has
main
its
road.
own, each has its own driveway. Sometimes they're next to each other. You can kind of see them on that one. But you can see some of them are together on the same side, and it's just a function of where the hills are. So this is their point close to a top of hill, so you can see that way and that way. And then this is at another point, actually. So we do know where they're going to go, so we could, in fact, stop and start them. But, my thought was, let's keep it simple and say, here's the easement, here's the restriction within the easement.
Is there any way we could do language like that? Cause I'd hate to start and stop and then have to put a post on the side of your driveway. Yeah. You know what I mean? We could hit that almost. Get an intersection of each conservation.
And I don't know if did they talk to you, or is the planning board ask you at all about markers?
No standard.
Yeah.
We don't have to discuss that.
I'm sorry.
But no markers for the easement. It's
Markers for the
standard.
easement.
A
They're
standard.
pretty much standardized 4x4 post with a
Okay.
thing on top, or you could present stone, big boulder,
Okay.
or a
Yeah, it's fine. My personal thought was, what if you use pine trees, because everything else is deciduous, they would stand out. That would be another thing you could use, but
If you try to use a tree, you have to put a mark on the tree. Identify.
yeah, you could do that. So but that's completely up to you folks. I'm fine.
as far as the placement, it would be at each point, right? Lots wide enough to have a marker in the middle, or would you get away with
They're
one?
generally about 200 feet wide. You can probably see from one to the other, but you may want.
I know there's language on that too, as far as, the second lot in from the right, for instance, if the width of that is within the guidelines, you just have to have a marker at the property corners.
Okay.
If it's too wide, you'd end up having to have one in the middle as well, just based on the code. So
Okay.
they have one in the center there. So we
Okay.
just have to look at
maybe I didn't catch up to that part, so.
That may be why either our group or another group asked you to help straighten out the lines, because otherwise,
Yeah.
anytime the line moves, you'd have to have a marker. So you
Yeah.
could have a zigzag and you got 4x4 posts in the ground.
Yeah,
So nobody wants that, neither the
Yeah.
homeowner nor us.
Yeah. And by the way, I mean, there's really no reason, even if you were to exclude the driveway area by language, there's no reason you couldn't put a marker 10 feet away from each side. Or we just stop and start, stop and start even.
Yeah, when you say stop, start.
So in other words, the easement is, the way I'm showing the easement is continuous
Yeah,
all the way through, but there's driveways that go through the easement.
Yeah.
So in the language of the easement, you could say, here's the easement, here's the restrictions. An exclusion from the description is an area equal to the width of the driveway plus 10 feet on either side, or something, something along those lines. And that would be done by language. Yeah, I mean, you could do it by language, and then you could also, if you wanted to, still put the markers in 10 feet either way. I mean, I guess I don't have a big preference. It's just you got 15 little small ones, or you got 15. You have basically 11 small ones instead of one bigger one.
Don't remind me that corner lot, is it, I feel like there's a house there.
Yeah.
Yes,
The original house.
That's the Ott homestead, and it's not a listed historical place, but yeah, Beth loves that house. It has great history in, I can't tell you all the history of it. But, it was very, very important to Beth that not only the house be preserved, but the environmental setting. That's why you'll see the easement go all the way around the house. There's trees in those areas, like hedgerow type trees, wider than that, but so that's why we wrapped the house and the garage with that easement. So that was
Rational.
the rationale.
And is the homeowner staying there? I'm sorry, I don't.
No, they've sold it.
Okay,
It's actually, it has a buyer pending, which is good news because it's been sitting
sure,
and nobody worries about it
yeah,
deteriorating.
we were sitting on the walk there.
Yeah.
The tricky part for us is with any easement is the new homeowner, complying with the easement.
Yeah.
I think in this specific area, we've got a lot of neighbors been quite vocal about preserving the natural habitat. So I feel like it will be closely watched.
Sure.
So, we're always sensitive of, like, when we originally saw the home, the frontage easement, we thought, oh my gosh, it's gonna be tricky to comply with, but.
Okay.
So we haven't really discussed it too much, knowing that there's gonna be a berm, I think helps.
Yes,
But-
with trees on the side.
Yeah.
So that there's a purpose in that. Easement. If you want to go back to landscape plan, all the trees lie within that we're planting. Lie within that easement, and the berm plus the trees are part of the buffering to the neighbors, particularly Taylor Road neighbors. So that's why those are within their conservation easement to, number one, make sure they don't take the trees out. Number two, they don't grade it away and knock the berm down. So you want to protect both aspects.
Yeah. Same.
And the berm will be planted with grass
Yes.
also.
Yeah.
Not make a mulch berm.
So, like I said, I think I said before, so we would like to, tree maintenance, mowing. Landscaping, adding trees, maybe the landscaping. So within the crosshatched easement, call that the type D easement. Our thought was to allow those things, but obviously don't allow any buildings or grading, really. Nothing serious.
Awesome. We should see really restrictive. And like somewhat usable, like seasonal mowing.
yeah,
Trying to think if we've come across any others, so I guess the reason I'm just asking, we haven't seen, or I haven't seen one like this yet, but
like full on lawn,
yeah, mobile.
weekly mowing or.
We've just run into issues.
Yeah.
One in particular where pretty recent development set up, well and homeowners turned over, and then some issues. I had a pool in an easement. It was just, people were mowing in the spot in the easement and they didn't understand where it was. And I'm a new homeowner, just signing off when I buy the house, and I don't, unless it's marked clearly and applied with, and it's tricky from a compliance standpoint. So we want to be, I think, careful, just because we've had a lot of
Yeah,
background.
I don't think it would be prudent to provide that easement at location not allowed. Because it wouldn't matter, they could mow it anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
So preferably if you don't object, you'd like to be able to mow that area.
That would might be the site specific then, right, where we can define
Right.
the amount of mows or.
And the other thing we thought about, I didn't mention is perhaps allowing gardening in.
Yeah, kind of
On the
bottom,
back,
right? Yeah,
that buffer.
we spoke about that too, and I feel like. That, right, if I remember.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of common. That.
Yeah, I mean, the areas that are designated, there's no steep slopes.
Yeah, and I was a few minutes late, so I apologize if you covered it, but there's also the drainage easement.
There's a drainage easement through there, yeah, so you'd have to, either go around that or exclude it. Again, I would just exclude language, but that's up to you.
So you don't need that. You're not trying to include that in the.
No, I mean, the area is over, with these things included. You take them out, you're still over
Okay.
the 50%. So that was the thought process there. But it's certainly up to you folks if you want to try it, because it does get a little cumbersome or a lot of markers if you try it.
Yeah, I think my preference would be to not have that part of the.
So if I hear you correctly, the easement at the front of the properties along the side is not included in 50% conservation for that.
Right, so
Fair enough.
if you look on the map, it's included and it shows that the tunnel is over. But if you subtract those areas out, you subtract the areas out on each side of the driveways, you're still over 50%.
Oh,
That's what I was trying to say.
oh,
And I mean, I could show that, I probably should show that on. Just
yeah, that would.
that, because it's not clear.
Lot 9, that ground hatch area kind of overlaps with that co-located one. Or is that
I'm sorry,
Lot 9? You see lot 9, where we
Right.
have two easements overlapping. There's which one?
no, there's no overlapping drainage easement. Yeah, this is a drainage easement.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, so what's here, this is an infiltration basin. And then we have to provide a permanent desiltation basin for it. So this drainage easement covers both, and then the town wanted separate access to it. And then there's a swale that goes this way to a point, and then it's picked up in pipe.
How close is your, this is our first. How close is your leach field to that drain?
It has to be more than 25 feet. So the infiltration basin doesn't hold water. I mean, it can hold water quickly or temporarily if it rains. So it has to be 25 feet away. And it's much more than that because these soils are.
So is your thought process to insert the conservation easement there to standardize activities around the front line of the property? Or just to provide extra easement for consistency? Because
We do need, we need the easement, but we just don't need. We can take out the the driveways, area next to the driveway in the storm easement, we still have more than 50% total conservation. Not sure if that was your question.
The question is, why is it necessary to have the easement at the front of the property? Because you already put in the berms.
Why is it? Because it's to protect the trees and the berm is being planted for purposes of buffer
Screening, yeah. Screening for the neighbors, right?
screening for the neighbors. Yeah.
So the neighbors wanted it, so they put trees in to give a buffer, and then they figured, let's build a berm, so the trees don't come out. So it's not really for us, it's more for the neighbors.
So if you have the.
Like, then you can take it out, if you take it out, there's no
Donor could
Put it
rip
out.
it all out.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, so when you're driving down the road, I mean, the big question for the neighbors was character of the neighborhood. So if you look at the other side of the road in an aerial photograph, then you'll see that generally maybe the houses are a little bit wider and stuff like that. And they're at different locations. One thing we did was we have to respect the topography, but 3 of the houses we pushed back so they have long driveways. If you go one more,
Yeah, behind, because they're behind that easement.
they're behind
Right.
these.
Yeah,
Yeah, see that? So there's so this grade from the road rises up for these 3 lots. Right here, it goes down to a valley and then it rises back up. So these houses are on the other side of the valley. And this is where the recharge basin is. So we push these to the other side of the valley. And these are just straight up from the road.
so that helps you from earth movement too, right? I mean, you don't have to move as much earth because you're following what's already there.
Yeah, we want to be as close to existing grade as possible. I had, originally we had them all up close to the road and the concern was, well, you're gonna see them from the neighbors. You see them, it doesn't look like our neighborhood across the way, so that's why we moved them all back. And I think it makes it better.
Aesthetically.
I didn't get up to that.
with that being said, simplest way to do this would be to just.
The regular conservation easement is easy,
Yeah.
right? Behind lots,
Yeah.
simple,
That's.
that would be standard, right? Standard people like
Do the driveway.
I mean, because I'm just thinking out loud, because we don't need the driveways. I'm not as concerned about the language. It's not like we have to meet anything. Really, the purpose of those was neighbors and more aesthetic. So therefore, I don't think I care as much about mowing and that sort of thing.
So I think
We need to be site specific, right?
So I think the function of the easement, now that we have this information, is more so to stop anybody from any major land activities.
Yeah.
You can't take the beam down, you can't move the trees. But if you wanna cut your lawn, I'm not here with that.
So the only thing we want to make sure they do is they can't remove trees
And they can't remove the beam.
and they can't remove the berm and they maybe must replace the trees. I don't know if we can do that or not, but otherwise, you plant a tree, couple of trees in a row die.
I think
We want them to be replaced, because otherwise, if these 2 came down, so why not, since they're down, I'm just gonna get rid of the berm.
They put back.
we don't want to allow them to grade.
Right, exactly. Want them to have to replace the trees and maintain the berm so that.
Yeah, so, with respect to the driveways. I guess the drainages for them, we could mark them whether or not. Despite how you decide to approach it in the language of the easement. So in the language of the easement, you could say excluding the driveways plus 10 feet either side, right? So that does define points. You can still You can still mark those points. Feel. It's just simpler than. You got a 100-foot strip, stop, start. And a 100-foot strip, stop, start.
Yeah,
Which is okay. I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm just suggesting it's another way.
yeah, I mean, I think I'd rather have,
say allow for driving plus 10 feet, like that.
yeah,
Keep it-
do we even need the 10 feet? That more. But just, that's the easement,
But I just think,
Allows
you
the
know,
driveway.
we want some area where they got snow and stuff.
yeah, to be able to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You want to.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. But yeah, I wouldn't start and stop it, I would just
No.
allow for it, keeps it clean.
Yeah.
Just make sure that when you say driveway, brush stone, if it asphalt. I can see someone, one of the neighbors come across, being upset, by the driveway permanent structure.
In the east,
Yeah. So I just wanna make sure that that's
yeah, allows for.
it's clearable.
Place with the mailbox too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? How tall will the berm be?
The term is basically about 5 feet above the road,
Okay.
just as a general. And it's like a 4-to-1 slope, so it's, 1 foot rise every 4 foot, so
Sure.
it's not, 2-to-1.
Yeah.
Are you gonna cut the driveway through it or go off?
Well,
Build around it.
yeah, the berm is, the driveway will follow the existing grade.
Okay,
And the berm, the earth will be put in the berms either side of the driveway. Maybe that's fine.
all right, so you'll define what the driveway is and then build berms
Either side of it.
based on, okay, all right. So that's actually probably, if you do it, I think you might be able to work in some sort of natural landmarks there. To where that 10 feet is.
Yeah.
If you do that. Someone clever enough.
But if it's within the easement, would they be required?
No, but you want to be able to mark the 10 feet though, from the driveway, either side. Same.
But do you need to? You would have to mark 10 feet even if the driveway itself.
No, you don't think you have to, but I'm just saying, just to be, clear that nothing can.
Yeah, I mean, you might want to. All I was saying is, even if you don't start and stop the easement, you can still mark it. Because the
Yeah.
language describes that you can't, that this area, you can't put a driveway, you can mow it. You can do a little bit of grading or whatever,
Yeah,
put your mailbox.
it's a nice to have, if you can be explicit about it, and then. That way, there's no finger pointing later on, 5 years, 10 years.
I'm wondering if we do site specific along the road and then type B in the back.
You're gonna have to.
Yeah,
Open
yeah.
space basically says
Like no, yeah,
pretty much no maintenance.
no mowing, yeah.
So we'd have to do something.
So I probably hadn't thought this through as much as I should have. Potentially there could be 3 types of easement if you wanted. I mean, maybe you don't need it. We call it dark shading type A.
Mhm.
That's,
Yep.
you can't touch this.
And that's the easy one.
Yeah,
We're all
good
pretty
there.
clear and looks
And we
fine.
do have this backyard area, where we were talking about, well, actually, does it really matter? We're talking about allowing,
Right.
gardening.
Also mowing, I thought you said.
And mowing, yeah, gardening. So I guess, you wouldn't allow gardening up here. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's an issue or not.
Yeah, I guess my worry is that what we'd allow in the front for a driveway, we wouldn't want necessarily that same language in the back.
Right.
Or pave, no one would pave like a section but it would allow them to, if we use the exact same language that we use.
Maybe the best thing is for me to put in a type C easement for this.
Well, I think B is probably
And then this.
correct,
Yes.
site specific up front.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would.
Or like, I guess I'm not.
yeah, we're using the term.
No, or just do what you say. And with the type E easement, you've got conditions for the frontage that are more restrictive because you're not allowing gardening. That you could do that, definitely. And it wouldn't have to make a third pedal.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we will just want to be careful with the. So in the site specific, it says, no paving of any kind. So you probably want to strike that.
Yeah,
Language. out.
Yeah, that's where I'm going after.
Yeah,
Forgive me, but it's a dumb question, but lot 8, that corner lot, will that include too?
No, that's right. Lot A is not, because it's a natural, the natural growth. They wanted to, it's treed, it's treed out. Everything that's shaded there is treed.
Gotcha.
So. No, there's no earth moving on that at all.
Okay.
None of the wells are in.
And there's a little bit less grading on, I don't wanna be so blanket. There's a little less berming on 9, 10, and 11. Over here, I've got some smaller mountains, but there's no intent along Strong Road to block the view, so to speak. That was only on Taylor Road. So I'm not trying to make things complicated, but it's really a different situation.
Are your wells, the wells in the easement areas? Are your water wells in the easement areas?
No.
And you're pretty locked in on those?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, separation distances, all that, are pretty strict.
So our takeaway is in the back part of the property, be type A easement. The front line around the roads, maybe there's a type B. It will really allow for access driveway in there. They can do some seasonal cutting, etc. And in the back part of the property, just by next to type A, we'd allow for gardening and stuff there, but then that's it. Is that takeaway?
That's, I just assume allow for more than seasonal mowing in the front. I mean, just typical mowing.
I think take site specific in the
Yeah,
front. So
site
you gotta
specific.
flip those last two,
Yeah.
right? Open space for that last. Post the back and then flipping down the front.
I think they're gonna mow it anyway.
Yeah.
And then you put markers for the driveway plus 10 feet.
We could put markers, yeah. I mean, you could make that in your recommendations.
Yeah. Agree with that.
Site specific markers, open space in the back. Along the easement back. Oh, far back.
Do you have anything else you want to mention or discuss?
No, unless you have questions, I thought it was kind of complicated, so I was.
Yeah,
I
no,
was
you're super helpful.
I was gonna.
Happy that they could approached it, so.
I haven't given Lockport, thankfully I needed X.
Oh,
glad you did.
Because I didn't think I was gonna make it at first.
we could have talked for 2 hours and probably got it wrong, or
I know, yeah.
you gave us 20
That
minutes.
verb on the front is really.
Well, once I realized my other meeting was at 4 o'clock, I says, I gotta be able to.
That was good.
Maybe,
So, because I was thinking about writing a letter before.
no,
It's
yeah,
not
I
the
think
same.
being in person and hearing
It's
their
too-
thoughts
it's too
was
hard.
definitely better. Maybe my suggestion, I think if you don't have copies of the language for the different easements, Lisa, we can provide you with those.
Yeah.
Just, it's read through it, make sure that there's nothing sticks out for you that that could be an issue, because
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, yeah.
it is, we're gonna have to make some changes to some of the language, and
Yeah, I mean, I have copies of
Okay.
typical easements. But I know we're talking about some variations, so.
Yeah.
So
I
we
mean, I
get
think
the
we get the main
variations,
thing,
way
the
the
driveway,
variations
the
done.
mowing. But there could be something else that you could see a homeowner wanting to do there. Because it's easier to address all these things now than 10 years down the road. I mean, it won't be your issue then, but
God, you're sorry.
Could be ours. We don't want it either.
You don't have to worry about it.
Just,
Yeah, that is our challenge, is, you know, we draw this up and then
yeah,
turnover and assumptions are made.
it's funny because we speak the same language, you speak the same language, but then you get, like you said, homeowners, a few generations down the road. And they don't know what
They don't want,
supposed to
they
do.
don't want to speak the same language either.
Yeah. Don't care to,
I want to do what they want to do.
yeah,
They're lucky
I get
to
it.
even know what the kind of
Yeah,
things that is.
yes. So we have to make it as. Cool as this.
Yes. Glad you made it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thanks,
very
Tom.
much.
Thank you for inviting
Yeah.
Can stay or leave, but I think moving on to next week.
Yeah, we just have to approve this.
me. If you have questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, Doug.
Thank you, take care.
So next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of May 2nd. That's.
Mhm.
I think comments were passed, circulated by email. I think there was no issue.
Correct. Yep, they were fine.
So we have motion to.
Make a motion to approve those. Need a second.
I'll second that motion.
With a smile. Any objection? All in favor?
Aye.
So minutes of May 2nd. Accepted. Al is not here. He said he was going to be here, so I'm not sure we have any update from the city. One time. In that case, what, so Matt, you have a summary of the recommendations we're gonna make.
Yeah, I mean, I just made some notes, but yes, site specific in the front. We need to exclude the driveway plus 10 feet on each side. We're gonna allow mowing, but no hardscape, no construction, that type of thing.
Right.
So I think we're probably gonna take. I don't know what we start with, but we start with something and then start kind of adding and subtracting.
Well, I think he's supposed to present something for us to work with, the baseline.
Okay. So that's, I think,
That
what
they
we're
come back with it.
looking at, right? In the back, I think we can go regular open space. Because that would allow for the gardening that you mentioned,
Yes.
but exclude also. Hardscape and kind of buildings or outhouses, that sort of thing, and then a regular conservation easement in the back. She said it has steep slopes and everything, so it doesn't seem like it'd be bad. His markers, especially along the conservation easement, look super easy. Mark?
You didn't mention silt fence.
Ah,
Normally that.
it was in there, I saw that, it was in
Okay,
the.
that's right.
They were gonna do a fill fence down the hill wherever I saw that, so
Ah.
spill your thunder. You
Limits.
couldn't- We couldn't give the
Yeah.
limit disturbance, yeah. Cool. Okay, I'm good. I make the motion, we adjourn.
That's good. All in favor?
Aye.
Actually, might say.
Oh, yeah. I'm not gonna.
All right, thanks.
Bush.
This comes in. That was definitely refreshing when we just.